to that person. He went right along to that.
Six is a good.
Call the meeting to order. Let's establish a quorum and do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So I think the first item we have is recognition of visitors. And I have one item for Miss Bethany. So you'll invite Yana.
Awesome, thank you. Normally when I come and chat with you guys, it's on behalf of the district as the communications coordinator, but tonight I'm representing the middle school cheer program as their coach. So as you're well aware, if you've seen them out there, we've grown. We've doubled in size. This is year 2 of our program. And we're really excited about what we're up to. And specifically tonight, I wanted to come and personally invite you to attend a performance. I know some of you have seen them at the high school games, but we have a couple other really cool opportunities coming up. Specifically, we are going to do competition this year. And we are going to be involved in what's called the game day competition, which basically the things that we do on the sideline to get our crowd to yell with us, we're doing in front of judges, getting scored on it and competing against other junior high teams at the same level. So we are going to be competing at 2 local competitions and 1 statewide competition. So we're going to Jefferson High School in Jefferson, Oregon. We're going to be at Philomath High School, and then we'll be at Sherwood High School. And so, everybody, that's a little event schedule that has those competitions, but also we did a little kids clinic on Monday, and we had almost 50 kids show up for that clinic, and they're going to be performing tomorrow at the middle school football halftime show. So if you want to come see the cutest show in town tomorrow, the game starts at 4:30. I think halftime will be around 5-ish. And we also will have ice cream and cake there if you want to help further support our program. The other thing we have on that event schedule is if you can't make any of our competitions, we're doing a friends and family night on Wednesday, October 29th at 6 o'clock in the middle school cafeteria. So if you'd like to come to that, they will be performing their competition routine for friends and family. And during that, we'll teach you how to yell with us and encourage throughout the routine. I also have a member of my program who's going to be competing in the mascot division at the OCCA championships, which is the statewide competition. I've never seen a junior high mascot competition routine, so she may be making, ground for our school and for the state. So I'm really excited about that. And I just want to reiterate that this program is a 6th through 8th grade program, and I really love that we get to help support and foster school spirit, school pride, and K-12 spirit through this program. One of the other things that we also have been able to do this year is we have a senior cheerleader who is also helping mentor my kids, and she's using that as part of her senior project. So it's been a great year, and I hope you guys get to be part of it. And if you have any questions about our program, definitely feel free to reach out. We usually get our lineup for the competitions the Wednesday before. So if you're interested in attending, let me know, and I can give you like the estimated performance time for those competitions. So that's all.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Very nice. Thank you, Bethany. That was our only comment. Great. Thank you both. Okay, so let's move forward with approving the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you all. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda for today.
In a second. Second. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay, so we are moving right on. Student presentation.
All right, guys, well, it's that time of the month, student rep report, but I have a special guest today joining me. I'm Brady. He's been helping lead student sections and spirit for our leadership class this year, so I said to bring him along because he has a lot to tell you guys from his side as well, so starting it off. Oh, am I supposed to drive the clicker?
Yeah. Gosh, there it comes. I don't get paid.
Okay, so first off, assemblies, we had a spirit and sports assembly. So one thing that leadership recognizes that we didn't have the biggest student sections and we really wanted student support at our games for our students. So we decided to have a spirit and sports assembly where we could bring down the captains from all the different sports teams to talk about, this is what our season looks like. This is the big games we want you guys to attend to really get it out there so kids know what games, what's going on. So we had each sports captain, we had like 3 from each team come down and talk. We had our cheerleaders come out and do cheer routines, talk to the students, they did them back. So that was really cool to see. And then we had our rules and expectations where we went over student section etiquette. And then we had a game, which was, we started off with captains from the teams, and then Tony would give an item. So it'd be like, find somebody who's in a club, and then they have to go into the crowd and find somebody that's in a club, bring them down. And then it went on from that. So the person that was in the club then had to go find somebody that was another one. Yeah,
They did club.
yeah, we did clubs and then, there was a whole list, somebody that has red hair. So yeah, they went on and they went through all the different things. Yeah. And then, Brady and I worked a little bit on student section chants, so things they would hear, in the student section for that game. Because we've been trying to make chants and change them up by game. So, we got the chants for that week, which was Sisters, which we'll go into in a second. We also had a student tailgate for Cottage Grove. So that was a lot of fun. That was just another part of really trying to get kids engaged at the games. So beforehand, we had cornhole, ping pong, hot dogs, music. So the kids had a place to hang out before the game because there's this odd period before the game from 3:25 to 7 o'clock or 6:30. And so we hosted something so kids could come, hang out, and had a safe place to be. Do you want to talk anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, it just brought a lot more attention to the game, because everybody wasn't going home, like staying at home. Which I would tell you, hang out, have fun, go to the game, not much more to it.
Thanks, Brady. I don't know what you want me to say. But yeah, so we're looking at possibly doing it again for the Pleasant Hill game. This was kind of the guinea pig, just to kind of see if it worked. But we're talking about opening it up to the whole community to come out. And so parents can come out and students from Pleasant Hill. So we're really looking at it for homecoming, but redoing it, but on a bigger scale. Yeah. Football. So they are currently 2-3 overall, 0-1 in league. Their 3 losses were to top 10 teams. So Jervis currently is number 8, Sisters number 5. Sutherland fell quite a bit, but at the time when we played them, they were 5th. So they lost to some pretty good programs. Not to say that any losses are good losses, but you take them more than losing to, a 19th ranked team. They have a game at Elmira on Friday. Their homecoming game, which is their next home game, is on the 24th, which is homecoming. As you can see, there is a pink out shirt, which will be sold at that game. The theme is pink out, and we're recognizing breast cancer awareness. So leadership created a t-shirt to be sold, which those proceeds will go back into American Cancer Society. So really excited for that. We're actually also looking for somebody to recognize that is a survivor or fighting breast cancer to recognize that at football games. So
Cash too.
yes, so we'll also have some students running around trying to raise cash or money for breast cancer and the American Cancer Society as well. A lot of ideas right now, but it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna really focus it on that along with homecoming. So all those activities will be taking place. Duke the dog. This is another fun one. We renamed the mascot at the high school because a lot of kids and people in the community didn't even know what our mascot's name was. So we let the students vote from this big list and they chose Duke the dog. As you can see, he also had a little bit of a new look. We got a new mascot costume and we put a jersey on him. So now he's different from Sutherland. They also have a similar suit, but he's got the red jersey. So now he's really distinct. Yeah. We've also been dressing him up for home football games. We'll do it for basketball games as well, but to match the theme. So for the Cottage Grove game, the theme was construction. So as you can see, he came out with his vest and stop Cottage Grove stop sign. For tropical, he came out with a surfboard and surfed in the middle of the field. And I don't know what we're doing for pink out yet, but
I was something pink.
yeah, probably something pink, yeah, so. But yeah. Special guests, I'll let Ray talk about this in a few seconds, but we've had some special guests, as you guys saw with the skydivers. This last week for Sisters, we had On the Rocks, the DC and the Oregon Yellow Garter Band, which were in attendance. The theme was college night. So, yeah, we had a lot of special guests, and Brady got to hang out with them longer than I did, so I'll let Brady talk.
Yeah, no, this was a really fun group of guys. They're very friendly and just nice, very open to talk. Good group of guys, sang pretty good, I'd say. And then the girls came a little bit after the guys left. The girls came up. I didn't get to talk to them as much, but again, they were really nice and friendly, and they did a really good job on their part at halftime. Yeah,
That girl who did the beatboxing was
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
But no, they're a really good group of guys, and I kept in touch with them. So we do future plans with them, yeah, on other events, but it's a lot of.
and Brady did ask, and no, they don't drink any special water for the bonus. Yeah, he asked, they said no, they said. But yeah, and the Oregon Yellow Garter Band, that was a fun group. I got to talk to them after the game. We gave them t-shirts. The acapella groups got candies and cards, so don't worry, they weren't left out. But yeah, so the band got t-shirts, and they were really thankful and asked if they could come back next year for the band teacher. So that was really cool. And now soccer.
Boys soccer, we've been doing pretty good. We lost 7 good seniors last year, 7 starter seniors, so this was. We had a good senior group coming in, but we weren't all together. And this year I feel like we've all come together as a team, especially our senior group. We've been playing really well together, good energy. We're 7-2 overall. We lost to #1 team OES, so they're #1 state right now. And then St. Mary's, which I think they're 4th in state right now, so 2 big teams. But we took down Saisla and Sisters, which are probably the other top 2 teams in our league, but we're 4-0 right now, and we got a game tomorrow against Eastland. We should beat them. I mean, can't take anything for granted, but we should beat them as we're playing and we're all healthy at this point. Matthew. One thing I'd like to recognize Matthew, his goals. Last year, he had 24 goals, and this year, I believe he's at 26 already. And we have 5 games plus state coming up. And then please. Last year I had 26 assists, I believe, and this year I think I'm already at 29. So definitely props to Matthew and then myself for moving up and improving from last year, which we thought we couldn't do just because we set the stakes so high. Girls soccer, I've only been to a few of their games, but they beat Pleasant Hill, that was a big one for them. I believe they are 2nd in league for their group. They do have an away game at Central on Friday, which was rescheduled, I believe. Yeah, but no, I feel like they're doing pretty good, coming together as a team. I don't know much more.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
take over.
Yeah, so they're 9th in state, beat Pleasant Hill, which is really big because they're in kind of a trifecta with Central and in Pleasant Hill and us. So beating Pleasant Hill was big because they were able to pass them. Do they play Pleasant Hill?
Yeah, they'll play them
Yeah,
again.
so they played them again, but we got the first win, so that was good. But that's all I really got.
Yeah, we didn't tie this. Past 3 times.
Yes, I was gonna say, yeah, we tied them, the past 3 times we go soccer, but we didn't last time, so that was big, and that's what they really wanted to share with you guys. Volleyball, they're currently 2nd in league, 12th in 3A. Their playoffs start on the 25th, at Sisters. Senior night is on the 16th. I want to mention that for soccer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, so senior night is on the 16th at 6:30. And they have a game tomorrow, home versus Pleasant Hill at 6 p.m. Team is read out.
Do you know if they're doing CNAC before or after? I think it's before. I think it's before. Okay, yeah. So we also have CNAC. Obviously, Brandy is done after this year, 33 years of coaching. Her, Colin, and then our two other assistant coaches, Abel and Gary, will all be done with our 9 seniors. So that's like a game we want to emphasize, especially for everybody to come out to. We haven't really had great fan bases overall. So we just really want everybody to come out and support Brandy and us, but especially Brandy for all the time and effort she's put into coaching through all the years. So.
And we're supposed to wear red. It's true, it's on the event page.
Okay, yeah, where we're at.
It's true.
Oh,
It's true.
Certainly mine do.
y'all come in class. No, it's fine.
So yeah, so there's 2 senior nights that night, which is girls volleyball at 6, ready for at 6.
We'll be after the game, so roughly 8 it'll start, I guess, so we'll probably be out there for a good hour, hour and a half after. Cause that hopefully it doesn't rain. But one thing about volleyball is we need more attendance, I feel like. It's definitely for students. I've gone to a couple home games and we've had 4 people in the student section. And I feel like as a student, you feed off of the energy that people give out. So definitely like getting more people to go to like the student section games. Yes.
Your home games that are on Thursdays, you should talk to your football team because they're across in the cafeteria having
Yes.
team dinner. You should get them to go right across to the.
I tried to tell them, none of them, they're like, no, we're going home. I tried, like, I can only do so much with them.
Same, feel you.
Well, so yes, that's the update. 2 senior nights, we guys can hit about on the 16th. Cross country, I got a photo this time, so this isn't perfect. They had a big turnout this year, major participation was the text message I received. And they have a meet this Friday. Still won't tell me where their meets are. I don't know. I asked and they said, I'm not sure. So, yeah, that's my cross country. Cheer. They've been training at the games and we're preparing for competition season. That's what I was told. Bulletin boards. So each of the grade levels were given a bulletin board when they first came back. So the freshmen had Among Us, the sophomores had Fortnite, the juniors had Minecraft, and the seniors had Roblox. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So so all the advisories got to decorate their own characters, as you can see up there, and so they're hung around our school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of.
Yeah, and then leadership put it all together and I think they just blew them.
Appreciate that.
Took time.
Yeah. Next up, we have the OSA Captain's Camp, which happened 2 weeks ago, which is thrown by OSAA. For anybody that's either inspiring to be a captain or is a team captain from Creswell. As you can see, we have our group there. It was a lot of fun. The Chronicle, our friends at the Chronicle were there, so there was a lot of photos taken. But these are 2 that I pulled from the article. I had the pleasure of interviewing some of the Oregon athletes, which was a lot of fun. Met the assistant Oregon basketball coach, so that was cool. But yeah, it was a fun course. We got to learn about school spirit, how to incorporate kids and get kids to come out to games, and just overall leadership within sports. So that was a lot of fun. Shout out to everybody that went. And dates to remember, 10/16, October 16th is senior night for boys soccer and volleyball. 16th during the school day is our homecoming info assembly, which will start at 10, goes till 10:45, so I think it's to attend. 10/20 through the 24th is homecoming week. 10/24 is the homecoming football game versus Pleasant Hill, big one. 10/31 is senior night for football, which is Halloween, and girls soccer senior night is to be determined.
Yeah.
So. Yes, I really want to emphasize the boys soccer and volleyball senior nights and the homecoming football game. If they win their next two, will most likely make or break whether they go to playoffs, so that will be a big one. That's all I got, long presentation, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Are they doing a parade during the day again?
They're not gonna parade this year.
Not this year.
We're trying to figure out something down the place.
Thank you both. Next up is the principal's report. The principal's report. Okay.
He brings energy.
There you go.
That's you. That's you. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Come on, Mom.
Okay, so. I'm excited to get to hold it to your side. So we're gonna talk a little bit about our data and just some of the things that we're doing in response to it in our schools. So we're gonna first talk over our smarter balance data at elementary school. So again, the data is not officially released yet, but this is what we have so far. This is our ELA math, our ELPA, which is for our English language learners, and our science scores. And so as you can see, our scores going across there, the blue and red and green, sorry, are passing scores. Green is on level, the blue is like above. So in both ELA and math, we did see a decrease in our scores from the previous year. However, our ELPA's scores saw a decrease in students in the red, so fewer students who were below level. And then we saw a huge jump in our science, which we were really thrilled with because we did spend a considerable amount of time over the last couple of years on science instruction specifically, not just on materials and content, but on instruction around science. It's been years. If it ever has happened in the past, I'm not sure, that with our current staff, nobody had any recent memory of actual professional development around science. So we coordinated with Lane ESD and got a lot of great PD, and so we're feeling pretty proud of our science scores. Looking at the individual grade level data from previous years, these arrows are a little confusing, so third grade scores are 14% less than they were the previous year, and 10% less than the state. Our fourth grade scores went down from 4% from the previous year's fourth grade scores, but it was 3% higher than the state's. Our fifth grade saw a jump in 2% higher number of passing scores. And even with that jump, they're below the state by 4%. Looking at the cohort data, so from the 23 data to the 24 data, or sorry, 24 to 25 data, that's what year we're in. Third grade to fourth grade, they saw an increase of 1% from their third grade scores to their fourth grade scores. And then fourth grade to fifth grade, they saw a decrease in 7% from their fourth grade scores to their fifth grade scores, and this is all our reading. In math, kind of a similar story. Our third grade scores were lower than in previous years. Our fourth grade did similar to the previous year, and our fifth grade students saw a significant increase from previous year's scores, and the cohorts and varying results. And then here's our science score. Of course, it's the same thing that you saw on the other page. And we're 12% higher than the state. Or sorry, 12% higher and 3% higher than the state. So I planned on going into the actual data portal to show you what we do with this data, because this is just the surface data, but I realized I don't actually remember my password, so I'm not going to log in onto the computer. But when we log into the portal, these are just part of the information that's shared. Additional columns are on our desktop that show the individual subscores. We click on those and it shows us how well they do on those individual areas. And then additionally to that, you click on the target and it tells us what that standard is. So on the assessment, it tells us if that standard was above proficiency, if it's at or near, or if it's below. It doesn't give us a number, it just gives us one of those three indicators. And then it tells us the strength, and this is a little confusing.
but it'll tell us if they performed, if it's an area of strength in relation to the whole test. So in that particular subcategory, was that like a strength for this cohort or individual student? Or is it, it's similar to every other question, or if it was an area that they performed less than everyone else? And so it just kind of gives a picture of, in general, over the entire assessment, their strength of that. When we go to the desktop in the OSAS portal, we can also look on individual teachers. So as administrators, we are monitoring classroom data and having individual conversations if we see some major discrepancies. And teachers can also click and see every student's score and how they do on every single one of those targeted standard areas. So as the classroom teachers are digging into this, they're looking for trends across the grades. Is there certain standards that have been, a struggle for us for years? Is it something that was just that particular cohort? They're looking at their incoming kids, but they're also looking at the student data for the next grade up. So our third grade teachers are looking at the fourth grade data to see, are they continuing to grow? So those are some of like the deeper conversations that we have as a staff. And then we use our PLC time on Wednesday to ensure that those standards that they're maybe not performing as well on, that we're really hitting those within our instruction. So like today's example, we had our PLC. I joined our first and second for kindergarten and first grade cohorts teachers, and we talked about like which standards they were addressing based off of their current data. And so teachers at the intermediate grades were doing that with this data. Then looking at our iReady diagnostic assessment, and just a reminder, in the fall, the yellow is part of the 50th percentile. So it's really on level because we wouldn't expect them to have a whole lot of skills in their grade level if they're getting tested, because it's literally like day 4 of the school year that they take their test. So in general, we have only 21% of our students that perform below grade level in the fall, which feels like a really huge win. Because when we look at that triangle, the multi-tiered systems of support, we want our core instruction to meet the needs of at least 80% of our students. That indicates a healthy system. So it's normal to have a certain population of students performing below grade level because you have a lot of variables, kids with who receive special education, students who maybe have had a lack of instruction, attendance, so on and so forth. Or kids who could potentially, be dyslexic and they don't perform as well on the assessments. So having 21% of our students below grade level is an improvement, and it feels like progress, even though there's quite a few in that yellow. The yellow does indicate they're right where they should be. And then some excitement that we have is when we're looking at those overall reading scores, we continue to see a decrease in those students. So back in the 21 school year, we started the year with nearly 30% of our students below grade level to now being at 21%. So a lot of growth over the last few years. This is a lot of information, but again, to kind of talk about what we do with our data, the graph on the left shows a comparison of cohorts. So staff review this data to give them an indication of what their current cohort of students are coming in with in comparison to previous years. So they may see that a student group is coming in stronger or maybe even weaker in certain areas, and that's going to inform their instruction. It also gives us an opportunity to see, are we over a period of time seeing students more prepared for the next year's grade? So like if you look at first grade, for example, we started out in 22 having 14% of students in the green, 13 in the red. And then this year we had 0 first graders in the red. And I can't see these far away, but it looks like that is 6. 18% of students are on or above grade level, and then 82 are right at where we want them to be. So our staff are looking at that in a couple of different ways. Then the graph on the right is looking from fall. We're looking at the overall cohort growth. So you can see how students are performing or cohorts are performing each year as they progress through their grades. And again, we're looking at, are we closing that gap in all areas? Here's our math data. Similar to reading, we have 25% of our students who are below level. We'd like to see that a little lower, but we're definitely seeing some growth in math, especially now that we have had a few years of our new curriculum underneath us, and our teachers have materials that are aligned to the standards. And over the last few years, we've seen a decrease. We were at 32% of our students below level in 21, and we now maintain the same as last year, but we're doing at 25%. And again, same data, but just with math. We're looking on the left at those cohort trends, and the one on the right looking at the actual cohort as they progress through the grade levels. And again, I was gonna log into iReady and show you a little bit deeper, but I'll explain it to you. So in iReady, a teacher can look at how the assessment aligns to the standards in a couple different ways. They can look at their whole class, and they click on a thing that says state standards. It gives them a whole list of standards, and it'll tell them how many students have mastery of that standard, how many are approaching, and how many are like nowhere near. They can also change it to show them a grade below. So our third grade teachers can say, okay, I want to see how my group of students are doing with second grade standards, and they can adjust it to show all the second grade standards, and they can see, wow, like a lot of my students still don't have this second grade standard. I'm going to need to pre-teach that content a little bit more before I dive into third grade skills. They can also look at individual students by clicking on their name. And when they click on their name, it will give the individual students progress towards the standards. And so they're using that information when we're meeting in PLCs to plan small group instruction. And they do small groups in reading and also in math to provide that individualized core content to them. Before I go into that, I did also want to show another way that we collect data, just because we look at the data in lots of different ways. And so each team has a data folder that has all of their students' folders in it. And let's go out from here. So every student has a purple data folder where we are tracking data. Teachers are adding information, printouts, they're adding classroom data, they're adding information on both ends of the spectrum, not just for students who are maybe lacking skills, but also for students who are performing above grade level to start building the, the case that they are a TAP student. So we're looking at all areas. And these folders travel with students throughout their school year. The first year, fifth graders, I think they're now freshmen, their folders are probably a little bit less just because we're getting it started. But every year we pass them on to the middle school. The middle school takes these folders and also uses the data and then historical information to form groups and to see, what things we have done for students in the past. In here, it also talks about what the actual intervention has been. So what materials were used, how many times a week, was it working? Were they making progress? And so these are tracked as well with all sorts of information. Okay. So some celebrations. Overall trends are showing that we are closing the gap. As I said, that we're trending down for students in red for the past 5 years in both reading and math. We continue to be strong in writing in all of our grades with our Oregon State assessments, and writing for teachers is sometimes one of the most stressful and hardest things to teach because there's so many different layers to writing. But we have done a really great job of implementing writing across all of our content areas. And every year I have a different teacher tell me, wow, the writing is continuing to improve. We have first graders that are already writing multiple sentences, and it's the beginning of October, and that's usually not something that they're doing. So we feel really proud of the writing instruction that we've been implementing. all of our first through fifth grade cohorts grew in reading and or math from the fall to the fall. So they made progress across the board. Of course, we don't have information on our leaders, but they're English. First, second, and fifth grades are coming in stronger than they have in previous years or compared to previous cohorts. So they have grown considerably. And then we have, of course, several individual student success stories that obviously won't share in this space, but a lot of kids who just made a lot of leaps and bounds in their reading and math. Some of our opportunities, the things that we're paying attention to, 86% of our new first through fifth grade students, which are about 44, came in below grade level, which is always a little stressful because it adds to the amount of students that we need to support. But in looking at the students who are new last year, they came in that red area. I don't remember the exact percentage, but majority of them made a huge progress and are no longer in the red. We have really solid and stable staffing. Our teams are amazing and are working very collaboratively with each other. Attendance made huge growth the year before last. And last year we saw a dip in our attendance. We had 122 students that were considered chronically absent last year, which was more than double from the year before. So we have been sort of adding to our attendance supports using our counselor and the assistant principal who are intervening a lot quicker. Also with our new synergy system, our office staff are able to better monitor attendance and provide us reports on a more ongoing basis. We also, as part of some of the dips in our state assessments, we had a pretty active year with behavior. So in the 23-24 school year, we had 880 total referrals from 160 students. 175 of those referrals were major events with 58 students. Last year, we had 1,189 total referrals from 140 students, so fewer students doing a lot more things. And 401 of those were major events from 78 students. So we had quite a few challenges last year. Our system was feeling pretty overwhelmed with the amount of students who are needing our support. Of those students, 21 of them had four or more majors, and 12 students received more than 8 major referrals. At the elementary level, a major referral would be usually physical aggression, more than just a little paper hit, but like pretty significant, or an escalation or eloping, or things that cause a significant amount of time and resource to support and to keep safe. So we had quite a few last year, and as a response to that, we made some shifts in our support for the school. So an additional thing, an opportunity for us is that our kindergartners are coming in lower than in years past. But I met with them today and they're already reporting some really great growth, and they're excited to see that they're really, like little sponges. But many of our kinders did not attend preschool. Our kindergartners were born in the 2019-2020 school year. So as we know, many people were at home, maybe home for multiple years, and many of them did not attend preschool. Majority of the kids are the only or the oldest kids. So a lot of parents, this is their first experience with elementary school or public school. And our parking lot definitely felt it the first couple of weeks. There's a lot of new people out there. Teachers just report also in general, the kids are really immature. Not a lot of them for the group now. So, we're working on it, we're learning, and they're already reporting a lot of positive improvement. So we have a lot of things that are happening. We have adjusted our PLP schedule this year to have administrators and our specialists rotate through, so the schedule. It's not just a pop in randomly, it's scheduled. So like today, I went to kinder first, Ms. Martin went to second, third, and our specialists joined the 4th and 5th grades. And so we're there to help support and also talk about the data and most importantly, what sort of strategies are they going to implement into their instruction to help support the needs. We are continuing to have less staff meeting time and more instructional collaboration. So our Wednesday time, we really try hard not to have it just be meeting, but more about looking at instructional strategies. Our instructional, our leadership team at the building has identified some areas that we'd like to bring in some experts to provide some more instructional support to the staff. Especially when they saw how positive the science PD had been on our data, and also just their confidence in teaching. We have a new service delivery model that wasn't really happened. It didn't happen on purpose, but we were not able to fill 2 of our positions, which caused us to reshuffle staff. And so we do not have a tier 2 or tier 3 support staff member. We had to reshuffle our staffing to make sure that we can provide all the appropriate supports. And it's actually worked out really well in a lot of ways. We're continuing to be an Oregon RTI focus school. We're focusing on tier 2 and tier 3 reading. We have school-wide student and staff goal setting. It's been a big part of our fall. If you leave in this room tonight and head down that way a little bit, you'll see the bulletin boards. Each grade level has a bulletin board. Every student has created a goal for the year, and they have written their goal and posted it on the board. And so throughout the year, we're going to be coming back and checking our goals and celebrating the growth that we have. And my goal for the year is to learn to play the guitar. So let you know how that goes by June. I have a guitar, step 1. We also added a lot of additional assessments this year for reading. We call them offline assessments, but they're the kind of assessments you have to do one-on-one. So we're having students read to us. They're doing nonsense word reading and a couple others, which the teachers have already been really thankful for because it's provided them a lot more information to provide more explicit instruction. And let's see, what else? There's so many things we're doing. We're implementing our new curriculum and we're implementing our standards of practice. We expanded our enrichment offerings this year by surveying our students ahead of time, which was interesting because there are some things that I would assume lots of kids wanted to do, and it turns out they didn't. So it's great to be able to really ensure that we were having the right amount of enrichments for what the students wanted. And we have a lot more incentives that we're building into our schedule. Okay, there you go.
Okay. All right. Moving to CMS, we're gonna start with our Smarter Balance results. On the top left, we had 26% of students score at or above grade level in math, 36% in science, 48% in ELA, and then we didn't have any students score at or above on the alpha test. As far as what that looks like per grade level, breaking it down, where it says district, we're obviously the only middle school in the district and that grade level, so it's also our school site data. So in comparison to the state, our 6th grade group of students scored lower by 5%. Our 7th grade students scored higher than the state by 13%, which I'll come back to a little bit later in the presentation about that group. And then our 8th graders scored 2% higher. I will say that once I get to the slide that shows that group of 6th graders as 5th graders and 4th graders and so forth, tracking them, they were a lower group at Creswell as well. So the data fits if you look at their story, which we'll talk about. As far as math, we were lower in both 6th grade and 7th grade than the state, across the state and our school. Math is way lower than we want it to be, so I'll talk about that. The 8th grade group did remain the same as far as the same as state proficiency, but as you can see, statewide and school-wide, our math scores are lower than our language arts scores. As far as science, we typically do better than the state. If you recall, I think it was last year or the year before, the big write-up in the paper where Creswell kind of fell. Science tends to be our strong area. We did score 9% higher than the state.
Looking at our iReady benchmark data. These first two slides, I'm not gonna read to you because Amy already talked about it, but again, that yellow section doesn't necessarily mean, oh my gosh, these kids are actually a year below. Remember, we're coming into the school year, so they're really right where they need to be, and that's what it's saying in this. And this is similar to Amy's, where there's a whole bunch of numbers on it, but on your left, we're looking at grade level growth comparisons. So those are not the same group of kids where cohorts are. So on your right, which I think is more telling data of a group of students, you're following the same group of students, plus or minus kids who have joined your school or left your school. And so that is pulling apart how our students did on iReady, similar to what Amy talked about. Our teachers during their PLC time are diving deeper into what that means within their classes. We've also just had another round of schedule changes to make sure we have the most accurate data and are providing services to kids who need them. And I'll talk about that for the end as far as like things we're doing this year for this data. Similar to math, on the left, again, it's grade level, so 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, and then our whole school data. On the right, it's actually following that group of students, the cohorts through. At the high school, the reason it says CHS is because at the high school, it's not made, iReady is not made for high school, but they do utilize that within their like special education programs and interventions. So that score is not the entire grade level once it gets to the high school. Lots of stuff on this screen, but I wanted to point out some positives and achievements. Our current 6th grade group had only 12% of them as 5th graders score mid or above in the fall of 2024, and they have demonstrated growth over time. So even though their scores might not be what we want them to have, as 6th graders, they had 21% already on the fall demonstrate mid or above grade level, which is a 9% increase. So you can honestly look at the interventions that are happening at the elementary level. And then basically this year, we're looking at what do we need to continue and using the data folders to determine who's getting what service. Our current 8th grade group, this group of students had 63% of them score mid or above early on and 1 below on the fall performance. On the fall iReady reading benchmark. And it means that only 37% of the group scored 2 years or more behind grade level. Also, our current 8th graders, they had 64% of them score mid above early on or 1 below on the fall iReady math benchmark. And it means only 36% of the group scored 2 years or more below grade level. So there's some positives and negatives to both of those. The state assessments, our biggest achievement was with our current 8th graders. And we spent a lot of time focusing on that group for a couple of reasons. One, we put in a new intervention program when they were in 6th grade. And so we were tracking kind of what was working and what wasn't. As 7th graders, we then, and the whole school did this, but we put in school-wide writing expectations and really focused on those last year where we agreed on some basic writing things that every teacher was going to ask for no matter what we were turning in or what subject students were in. And I really feel like you can see the gains with this particular group who's had all those layers of intervention. So the current 8th graders who have 40% of them as 6th graders for proficient or above on the state assessment scored 58% above as 7th graders. So again, our current 8th graders, we're talking about their 7th grade scores, and that's an 18% increase, which is huge. And school-wide, in 2024, we had 43% of students score proficient or above on the state assessment in language arts. And last year we had 48%, which is a 5% increase school-wide. So I do think that a couple focus areas, we really saw some gains. And so we just have more to do at this point. As an aside, which I don't have a slide on, but one of the things that I've asked all of my teachers, district-wide, teachers have to create goals using Talent Ed, and basically they focus on 2 instructional goals using the data, and then 1 professional goal. And so I have told my staff this year that no matter what subject they teach, at least one of their goals has to take something from the state assessment data, and so we've been working through that. I haven't pushed that as much in areas that are not tested, and this year I'm pushing it school-wide as far as like, we're all teaching, we're all going to improve this. And although we've done that through, you know, how we're going to do the basic writing expectations, I think it's made a difference in people who don't necessarily teach an area that's tested, and them better understanding the data. Because we go over the data with all of our teachers, but the ones where I think are impacted the most are the subjects that are tested. And so it's been an eye-opener for me as an admin to help the areas that aren't the tested areas kind of dive deeper into even how to use that data. So I feel like that's an area that I'm focusing more on with my staff this year as well. Area of concern, obviously, that so many kids continue to be below grade level in both subjects, and that the gap is getting bigger. Although we all have intervention, and I didn't speak to high school, I spoke to Creswell because they're feeding into us. You know, we have a lot of layer of interventions, and yet it's kind of depressing to continue to see how many kids are below grade level and not where they need to be. I do want to point out, just because I think although we focus on it as a school, I think it's really important to focus on it as a community. We really need the buy-in that school is important, and that we go every day, because we have lots and lots of students who are attending school less than 90% of the time, which is considered truant, and that's impacting them at all levels. If they've done that every single year, by the time they're in high school, they've missed an entire year of school. So just want to point that out. Our next steps, we are offering more targeted courses. So if you have, I don't think any of you have a student anymore at my school, but something we changed this year. So I'm going to take our current 8th graders. As 6th graders, we were offering some tiered supports within the school days that students could access if they needed extra support in reading and math. And last year, with staffing cuts, it made it more difficult. We had to look at what we were offering. This year, knowing that our staffing would remain the same because of our enrollment, I had to figure out a different way to still offer as many enrichments and interventions as we could, while having kids not miss things, because we're preparing them for high school. And so we have moved to more periods in the day. The periods are slightly shorter, but what it's allowing us to do is provide more interventions or enrichments for students as far as levelized courses, and also getting more help in reading, writing, and math. So I'm hopeful that we see the data support all the changes. I have asked my staff, I mean, I ask them to do a lot all of the time, but I will say that I am aware that this schedule I have them doing is very taxing. They see way more kids, they are prepping way more, but I appreciate their willingness to do it for kids, because we need to be providing both the enrichment as well as the intervention. Anyway. We are implementing a new math intervention curriculum this year. So last year at Creswell, they started Number Worlds, and as 5th graders, there was a group of students receiving that math intervention. And so we have now purchased that, and we have a group of students receiving that in 6th grade. So basically the students who were in a level there continued here, and then we tested students and added to that group. It's our hope that now that we have that group of students, they can continue to grow and be in a math support that they need as seventh graders. Another group of students will join us, and eventually we will have 3 levels receiving the Number Worlds Intervention Program. We are gonna further streamline our school-wide basic writing expectations. I will say, when we drilled down the data, we had students who have some really severe learning disabilities who have scored level 1 on the state exam since they could take the state exam. And some of those kids scored, when you take the writing apart, you can get 2 points for conventions. Some of those most struggling students got 2 out of 2 on conventions, where prior they were getting 0 out of 2. So it felt really good to see some results there. So we're gonna further streamline that. We are streamlining our just expectations of students and our SST process. We're working to better align with Creswell systems. We're also working at a flow chart, for lack of better words, to explain our offerings to parents so that they understand when we call them and say, hey, here's your students' data, here's what we'd like to do with their schedule to get them more support, so that parents better understand the why behind it, because sometimes that data is just overwhelming. We're gonna further implement our adopted science curriculum. We're gonna continue our data-driven decision-making with PLCs and data teams and grade level meetings and content areas. We're using iReady and state assessment to monitor students' progress, and use that data as like a gateway to additional services during the school day. Continuing staff development, collaboration with both of the other sites. And one of my biggest thing is continuing to provide accelerated opportunities for students, because as budgets get worse and staffing concerns happen, sometimes those accelerated opportunities go away in other places. And I will say that one thing we've kind of prided ourselves in doing at the middle school is still keeping those, figuring out a way to still offer those to those students as well.
Good job. I like that, right? I'm constantly reminded, like, when the graduation ceremony comes and we put on our caps and gowns and we go into the elementary school and the middle school and the teachers are weeping and we're all just overjoyed. I'm always reminded of like nights like this when we get to those moments, because it's their professionalism and leadership that actually is so supportive and really very meaningful by the time they're in high school. And so we do the best we can from 9 through 12, but it's clearly the work that you both are doing that gets them good for it. So thank you so much. Now everybody, you don't want to take it from here. So, hey, great job out there. On construction, it's very exciting. So there's quite a few things going on around the school, but primarily what we're most excited about right now are just the covered awnings that are in the courtyard. It's such a beautiful space, and now to have those, covered walkways and so well lit. I don't know if you've been there at night or early in the morning, but it really is a remarkable change. The school that people can experience as soon as they walk through the doors. And so the school not only looks healthy in the courtyard, but I think a large part of what we're doing at the school and what I'll speak to tonight is really about creating just a healthy environment. And the school right now feels very healthy. And that's, I think, been due to some part because of the work that's being done. Our athletic director, Corbin, can't be here tonight, but we have one of the highest rates of athletic participation that we've seen for a while. It's like we have wonderful support from our boosters, and I mean, as Malachi and Brady just kind of spoke to, it's like even though we might not see high levels of student turnout, there still is an excitement in the air about our teams. There is, they're always a part of the conversation. We see them representing themselves very well on campus as well. And so our student athletes are as much on the field, but really on campus leaders at the school. So for that, we're really very proud of them. As you can see, there's targeting expectations for our athletes. There's a real circle of positive influence. We're talking about that, but really it's just a chance for us to get together as a school and basically really embrace the athletes as a part of a very healthy environment community. So we spoke about MTSS briefly already, and I know that everyone here in the room knows what it is, but it's a conversation that we had just from the very beginning at the high school around what are we doing tier 1 that's supporting students, and then tier 2, 5 to 20% of the students, and then tier 3, the 1 to 4%. And at the very beginning of the year, we got the staff together and said, okay, let's create this on a big piece of paper in small groups. And then let's go around and talk about what, for example, for belonging, what are the tier one things happening at the high school that we can embrace and really celebrate? And then what are the tier two things? What are the things that are kind of missing or the things that we're seeing that we're really enjoying? And then the three. So we do this for belonging, behavior, and academics. Those are kind of the three big rocks that we talk about at the high school. How are we supporting students to make sure they feel a sense of belonging at the school? How are we helping them to hold themselves accountable for positive behaviors to celebrate that? And then also about the academics at the school as well. So there were a lot of different ideas that we got from the staff. And we talked about the needs, the leads, and the seeds. So the needs were things where staff were able to say, you know what? We love this. We've been doing it for a number of years. These are things that we need and we want to keep. The weeds were things, you know what? We've been trying this and it hasn't been working. And so we're going to actually set that to the side. And the seeds are the things we talked about, the things that people are excited about. They're like, yeah, we've always wanted to try this and we think this might work really well. And those are the things we're like, okay, let's think about those things and start implementing them like in an organized fashion, or we can work together in order to support those things. So again, the three rocks, and I'll just kind of touch on a couple of them. So for belonging, one of the things that was like almost equal parts need, lead, and seed was the advisory time. That's a half hour every single day except for on Wednesdays. And the feedback that I was getting was like, it's a very valuable time in order for students to get some of the support they need academically, but there isn't a lot of structure to the time. And so you'd see, you know, maybe not as much of students taking advantage of that time. And so we came up with the idea of interest-based groups. And so what that is it's basically allows students an opportunity to select an interest group out of either ideas that they come up with themselves or the staff came up with. And they, over the course of each quarter, will have an opportunity to go into a different interest group. But it's basically a group of like-minded students getting together who can kind of rally around one common purpose if they are up to speed with their coursework. And that's kind of the key, is I think we're getting calls from parents that are like, so you guys are just doing like the sewing club now? And I'm like, no, that is just an opportunity for students who are feeling really good about their coursework, who are getting good grades, who are getting the support they need from teachers. And of course, we're doing grade checks to make sure that they're up to speed. But this time allows students to go into a classroom with a teacher who's holding an interest group on a subject they might enjoy doing when they are outside of this sport that is necessary. Not that what's the one that you're doing? Tea and talk time. Tea and talk time. Brady, what do you got?
I'm sewing with Babs.
Sewing with Babs. Excellent. Have you sewn anything yet?
I've hemmed a bunch of stuff.
There you go.
Machines, but not.
That's good stuff. So what that does is it creates like better relationships. Like students are in these interest groups 9 through 12. And so they're in with groups of students who they typically hadn't been around before. You can see the relationships starting to build. There's a sense of belonging, and those, like I said, those advisory times are still, structured in a way where they're getting academic content on Wednesdays for graduation requirements, but then on Monday we kind of set those aside for more kind of school business. Tuesday and Thursday are interest group or purple pass times where a teacher can actually request to see a student on Tuesday or Thursday. And then on Friday, we kind of just get with our interest groups, get with our group of like-minded peers and celebrate a week of hard work. That is what I just said. So Monday, school business, win, advisory is right in the middle of that. So some of the ideas for interest groups that we have, we're doing like leadership was one. I don't think video game made it. We have a dance one. Cribbage, I think, made the list. There's a guitar group. And I think the students are just excited about having an opportunity to develop a side of themselves with a group of like-minded peers with multiple age groups. So it's working out well. Our first day was just the 6th. It took us a second to get it off the ground. We're going to forecast for interest groups at the end of the first quarter, so that every quarter students will start with a good schedule. Okay. Behavior was second, and I point to these only because these are the ones that came out most frequently when we ran this activity with the staff. The behavior was, I think, an element of an opportunity in the classroom for teachers to establish really clear guidelines from the very beginning and then post those. I think it's really easy for me to get a call from the classroom and say, hey, Tilly, will you come? I'm busy and the student's doing this. If I come down and have a conversation with the student, I'm saying, hey, what's going on? Are you doing all right? Well, it seems like you're doing this and that. And I say, well, look, she's got to post it, or he's got to post it right up on the wall there. Like, it's a clear expectation of the class that you're doing this. It's easier for them to kind of establish those norms of the classroom when it's all written and really was done as a classroom. And so the community classroom norms are something that we implemented from the very beginning. And then the next one was just about like how to leave the classroom appropriately. It was like there were systems, I think, that were like computer, like maybe you know more about this. It was like a checkout on a Chromebook, but students would sometimes have difficulty logging into the Chromebook. And I think it sounded to me as though there was just like a potentially inconsistencies around students leaving the classroom. And so I just did it like as a, you know, I do a lot of things on Google Form and then just put the survey results right up on the screen. I'm doing it with the staff present. And you can see that the Smart Pass was the blue, that's what the 13.6, but it was the 54% as teachers, and really all the other ones on the right side are like, we needed some kind of a way to hold some accountability in the hallways because those negative behaviors in the hallways were having a negative impact school-wide. And so we came up with just like the easiest system at all, where it's like a gold, it's a destination pass, not a hall pass. It's a purple movement pass when you know to get to get academic help from another teacher, and then of course we have to start paying office call slips. Now into the academics. I shared this today with the staff at the high school. We went through this together, and I said, you know, these are going to point to some opportunities, like math. I think didn't have the increase that we wanted, and so I spoke with those teachers prior to the meeting and let them know that we were going to do this, and they said it's okay. So we were really excited about it. We've got some great ideas moving forward. When I first put this together, I emailed the presentation to Joel, and then I found out that some of the data had just been made available. And so what you'll see is the most recent data, but it's on the very right hand side. I'll show you. So right here, what we've got is just for the English language arts, the state average is 47, and in 22-23, we were at 39%. So graphically, longitudinally over time, you can see 23, 24, and we took a dip. But recently we're 10% up from that for the 24-25 school year. That's just last year. Okay. So for English language arts, there has been a 10% increase in the English language art proficiency. For math, you can see the state level is 21, the high school is at 24, and for last year, we ended up going to 21 for last year. So, and I'll speak a little bit more about what the conversation was like in our staff meeting today after looking at these things. So for science, 31 and 32, and then we're up 42. So in English and science, it's a 10% increase, and with math, it's stayed about the same. Okay, so we can get into this big long list, but what we talked about today at our staff meeting with early release was we went about this. We're like, okay, what do you see and what are the opportunities? And I think to what Julie said and both Amy as well, teachers actually they don't get disheartened by this. They actually see opportunity in it. And the opportunities are primarily they're excited about working interdepartmental teams. There was a lot of conversation between CTE teachers and math teachers around finding ways to integrate math into CTE. There was a lot of conversation with English teachers and science teachers about ways that paragraphs for a lab could be very similar, if not the same, to a paragraph in an English language arts classroom. And they started talking about how we could share rubrics and about how we could develop our student growth goals or our student learning goals around some of these opportunities around, let's take a look at the data that we just looked at. Let's take a look at the formative assessments that are actually provided by Smarter Balance. We could use formative assessments provided by the consortium and then take a look at those in order to improve our outcomes in our classrooms and with student skills. These here, there's a lot of wonderful things out here. It's just really around the data-driven decisions. Julie spoke to this really well. We're in PLCs, we're in grade level teams, we're getting together frequently in order to talk about what we're seeing. But I think the first part of the year has been primarily building systems around MTSS and creating a healthy school. Because once you have that, then you can really have like these kind of in-depth conversations around instructional practice, around what that looks like, around how to improve outcomes for kids, around what the state assessment looks like. But you don't really have those conversations until you feel like you kind of have a healthy environment. And honestly, people are starting to know me as well. You know, and so I think the conversations are like we're starting. It's really exciting. I think Superintendent Johnson has done a great job of providing us the resources that we need in order to talk about what does a mini observation look like what are the things. And I even took some of his guidance documents and put them into a Google form today and say, look, here are the things that we want to be looking for during mini observations. What are the things that you would like for us as administrators to be looking for as well? Because it really is very collaborative. We want to be seen as all on the same team towards achieving these goals. And I think that people get really excited about that. They're excited about us coming into classrooms. They're excited about the common expectations that we're setting for each other. It's really the ability for a high school to move is based on collective efficacy. The ability for a high school to meet is based on like implementing things with fidelity. And those are kind of the systems and words that we're using now to set us up for the future. Okay. So the one thing that I would add to that really long list, the last one, is create a professional learning culture with a focus on student achievement data from statewide assessment and instructional development. So this is the one part that's missing that we really spoke about today during our early release. But we're just getting started with this. And there are a lot of people who are excited about the work. There are a lot of people who want to be innovative and creative. They want to challenge themselves and create opportunities for students that maybe they haven't had before. And so I really feel like we're on a really strong path in a really healthy school. These are just some of the steps that I told people that we were going to be doing around, making certain that we just have a step-by-step plan to achieve some of these things. I mean, some of the teachers that we spoke with today, like they didn't really know like what the test looked like, right? Because it's like we know that they take tests, but our tests were just like circling, like bubbling in A, B, C, or D. But the tests they're taking now are like responsive. They sometimes have to choose the correct word and drag it places. And so there's actually like a testing literacy connected to testing in and of itself. And so we actually just went through a couple of the tests and we're like, and gave them the links. So we're like, open up some of these tests and see what they look like and take a look at like what standards exactly are these specific questions asking. And are those standards, when you're teaching them in your class, are they similar to how the test is? And so already as we're walking out, Worsham and Harms were like, hey, we're gonna take some of these sample questions and do them as warm-ups in the classroom. It's just like those little tiny things that are really gonna have a huge impact. And we're just getting started with that. That's it. There's a bulldog. Thank you, Simon. Dude.
Yeah, do the dog, I heard.
What happened?
Do the dog.
Dude, dog, yeah.
I thought you said dude.
And they said, dude, I was like, dude,
I-
yeah, dude.
Thank you
Awesome.
all.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Guys?
How many periods are your days now? We are 9, I think, but that's because Center Cape House homeroom. Okay. As a period, and our end homeroom, which is 4 minutes in order to drop off your Chromebook.
Okay.
So,
So
yes, okay, yeah.
How
So
long are
it's
they?
so hot.
How long are they?
At the top of my head, I wanna say like 45 minutes. Yeah, and actually.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, when I was doing observations in classes the last 5 years. Although as an instructor, we always feel like there's never enough time. When I looked at what I call dead time, which is like transitions between activities or how long it's taking to get into the lesson, or when you're done with the lesson and kids are maybe waiting for the bell. We had some minutes to spare campus wide, and so by combining those minutes together, we're able to provide more opportunities for enrichment and intervention.
That's a great question. Any other, I have one question, but anyone else?
Yeah, just add down question.
I have all
new kids who's gonna.
I always have a question. Thank you. I knew you would. Dr. Tony, you brought up mini observations, which I kind of love that idea. I haven't heard that. Is that something you guys are gonna start doing at the high school?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they might be talent, it just sounds called a walkthrough.
Yeah.
But it's just like the formal observation comes with in kind of like a conversation at the beginning and what am I looking for and what am I seeing and where are you in the unit and what should I look for in terms of like how to help you? And then we see it and then afterwards there's a conversation. But we're in classrooms so much all the time that just to have a really basic kind of like things are letting me in the classroom that I can stick in their mailbox afterwards, I think is just a really nice way to go about it. And we're building them together.
I think it's a great accountability tool. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Anything else? We will move on.
Great report.
Oh, thank you.
Very
Pretty speaks. We loved it. Okay, moving on.
Can we actually get like the slides, just maybe uploaded to this agenda and the extras or something afterwards? Cause I love the data, but that was so much, so I would have more questions if I'm able to like look at it and kind of digest it over time. So if that's possible, that'd be great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great suggestion. Superintendent Johnson, over to you.
Okay, well, I have prepared for you my report and activities for the month of September. It's been a busy month. The highlights are CTE building, final engineering design. Finally got that back and I'm proofing it tomorrow with our architect and then sending our response back to R&M Steel. And from there, R&M Steel will make whatever adjustments. And then R&M Steel has also offered to engineer the foundation plan for that building, which is an additional cost of a couple $100,000 or more. But what it does is it speeds up the construction process by months from having a separate engineer take that design and then develop or design the foundation for it. So, and they offered to help us out with that, because of the delay of things of getting the design to this point, which really was not within anybody's control. It's just since last January, a lot of things have changed in the construction industry and also with import exports. But that's where we are. So we'll get that approved. We'll get both of those designs back and then we'll go out for permits. And or actually we'll go out for the builder and then the RFP for the foundation, and then we'll get folks the permits on board, and then they will build the building, and when they're done building it, they'll send it to us. So that was a big breakthrough for us, and then CHS, the canopy completion over there, at least half of the school canopy completion over there. And we're already planning for next year's canopy construction project and completing that for the whole campus. And then quite a bit of other meetings, but the meetings with contractors, that frequency is picking up. So I'm meeting more and more with contractors as we go. We're also preparing to submit the application for the last building of the high school for the seismic grant. That way we can match that grant with bond dollars and start planning for the renovation of that building as well. All those things are happening. Any questions about the highlights or activities, anything in my report? Any updates on the bond projects? We've completed quite a few. Our list in black is getting very long. And which is to be expected. The purple lists are the shorter ones, but you'll start seeing more and more purple as we get into the planning for the next phase of projects that'll start in the spring. Questions?
It's great.
I'd like to add one item to the report. I have an announcement to make, and I'd like to read it to you. I make an announcement in regard to my position as superintendent at the Creswell School District. Typically, this is the time of the year that I request an extension of my contract. However, after much reflection on my 40-year career in education, my personal life, and my time in the Creswell School District, I have decided to focus on the needs of my family and retire from my position as superintendent, effective June 30th, 2026. Please know that I remain focused on and invested in our Creswell students, staff, and community, and that I plan to complete the school year with a strong finish. I've had a great career in education, and I absolutely and without reservation can say that being superintendent at the Creswell School District has been the most rewarding position for me as a professional educator. I genuinely love this job and will forever be grateful for the opportunity to serve this community. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm extremely proud of what we have accomplished in the 7 years that I've been in Creswell. As one team with the leadership of the school board, district leadership team, and the outstanding work and determination of our licensed educators and classified team, we have strengthened the foundation of our district and our educational systems, reinvested in staffing and supports for our programs, and improved outcomes for all students. I'm confident that the district will remain in good hands, and the momentum that we have developed will continue to move our district north and our students to higher levels of achievement and success. It has been both an honor and a privilege to serve in a district where the board, staff, and community truly put students first. Respectfully and sincerely, me.
Okay. That's that. We're gonna keep moving on, but thank you for everything you've done with us so far, and we'll continue to do this year.
We will continue to plan and work and prepare for the next phase.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next item on our agenda, we move to new business, which is to approve the superintendent goal and evaluation rubric that we evaluated last meeting. So, well, it may be a little different this year. We probably should still fulfill the process. So do I have a motion to approve the superintendent goals and evaluation rubric?
I move to approve the superintendent goals and evaluation rubric.
In a second,
My second.
all in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Also, we have on the agenda to approve the Lane County School Transit dollar request for 2026-2027. Can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the Lane County School District and the dollar request for 2026.
And a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion that we need to have on it?
I have a comment.
Okay. Please do.
Did you have something, Mary? Not yet? Okay.
What's that?
On the transit dollars, so, each year the superintendent makes a recommendation to the board for the amount of flex dollars, transit dollars. The district plans to take as transit dollars in the next year's biennium. In this case, the 2026-27 school year. Districts are required to submit a form indicating whether they plan to take transit dollars or not for OAR by November 1 of each year. I am recommending that the district continue in the Lane ESD consortium, and that the district will not exceed 50% of its dollars in transit from OD. So they give us a box here, and if we don't exceed requesting more than 50%, so if we don't exceed 50% of our request for them of transit dollars to come back to us, then we remain in the consortium. So that's box number. And that's what we've done in the past.
Any questions? Okay, so maybe we should amend the motion to select not to exceed 50%.
Oh, yeah, I move to amend the motion. I'm like, I will do it. Whatever Candace said. I move to amend the motion to not
Favorite
exceed
place to be.
50%. I know.
Okay, second. Mary seconds, all in favor? All opposed, motion passes. You want me to sign, please, okay, you got it. Okay, let's move to the next item here. I'm sorry, guys, I have to move over. Okay, so our next item is to post some revised policies. So you'll find in our trustees report, we have a policy committee meeting, the most important meeting of all school districts. And we have a variety, let's joke, we have a variety of policies we did review. They're all listed here below. Most have very little changes, words, change in pronouns, things like that on some of them. The big one that you're gonna wanna review is the personal device policy, which aligns with the new executive order, state law, that we do have to start moving forward on, because we have to have it in place by the beginning of the year, the calendar year. Yeah, so yeah, remember all the things. So we're gonna need a motion to post them, and then next month, then we will move to approve them. If I can get a motion to post post the revised policies. Thank you, Sarah. Miss Mike is a second, all in favor? Motion passes. Thank you all. That's in the consent agenda, so we don't forget. Okay, the next is a discussion on our Division 22 standards report, which am I looking to Superintendent Johnson?
So each year, the district superintendent is to report to the board of community on the Division 22 standards assurances report. And the assurances are that we are in compliance with ODE on the Division 22 standards. If we're not in compliance, then I have to report to you what we're not in compliance with, what standards, and what our plan is to get in compliance. And all this goes into this report that's in your board book here. I'm reporting to you that we are in compliance with all Division 22 standards. We'll take this report that I've submitted in here, and after this meeting, we will post it on our website for the community to see. And then by November 15th, I'll complete and submit a formal application to ODE with our compliance. And they'll see that it's been reported to you that we're in compliance, and that it's been reported to the community for our website.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you for keeping us in compliance.
Oh, I got a whole team, you pick it, any one of the things they're doing right now would lead us to compliance with Division 22. I think the biggest thing that is kind of missed in a lot of districts is compliance with curriculum adoption. And we have shored that up, looking back 15, 20 years of curriculum that we were somewhat not in compliance with. And we're in full compliance there.
Thank you very much. Okay, if no questions, then we will keep moving forward to trustees' reports. Mr. Anderson, would you mind submitting?
Yeah, I don't mind. I've been to a couple middle school football practices in one game and a couple high school football practices and a couple games where Mike and I got to do the change and get the best seat in the house. I went to Lania ski meeting last night and it was really interesting. Tony Skirdo is going to retire at the end of this year. I think he's been there 8 or 9 years or something. But a young lady from the Eugene School District was talking and they found out that maybe everybody knows this, but they're $20 to $30 million short for this year. And I think the hole is going to be a lot deeper than that when they really get into it. But the other thing we did is I talked to Mike and Joel about when they prepare the area for the foundation for the CTE building. I talked to a couple buddies of mine, and when they knock down these trees that they're gonna have to move, I told them that we cut it all up and you guys could sell it as firewood in the booster auction they have every year if they want to do that.
Good idea.
And we're really old, so it'd probably take us 2 or 3 years to do it, so. If, probably sell, I don't know, half a dozen loads a year for.
Yeah. I mean, seems smart, long range planning.
That's try them really fast, but it just doesn't happen like that anymore, but anyway, that's about it.
Thank you, Mike. Debbie,
I came to the board meeting tonight. That is what I got.
we're very appreciative. Sarah.
Got part of a volleyball game, a boys and girls soccer game, all of the football games, and they're all coming to my house tomorrow night to make dinner.
Pizza?
Yep. Are you coming?
I wish I could.
But I'll be in Seattle for work, so good luck, Jim.
She makes great pizza if anyone's looking at this.
If anybody's hungry tomorrow night, they know where to live.
I read every Friday morning with IRC. Love being in kindergarten. I saw some middle school and high school football games. Also wanted to share a couple, under like advocacy. So last night, Val Hoyle hosted a telephone town hall. So we can call in and just hear kind of updates. I was curious if there was anything coming from education and I didn't hear anything. It was primarily focused on the current stuff that's happening, the healthcare, the shutdown, the National Guard stuff. So I was just curious, so I wanted to attend. The other one was a webinar. I had mentioned it last month. I don't know how I got myself invited. It was from a group that I hadn't recognized before, so I attended the webinar. And I wish I could find my notes before I came because I wanted to at least be able to indicate the couple speakers that were presenting. I think they're a part of the Trump administration, like somewhere in the political appointee list. Or hirees. The whole webinar, none of the webinar, I would say would be fact in terms of like, here's something that's actually done. It was more heads up, this is where we think this is going. So I can't emphasize that enough because what I heard was like a lot of change. And so I don't want to alarm anybody, like this is for sure. This is just where they think this is going. A few bullets. They feel like there has been enough research that they cannot eliminate the Department of Education because it is congressionally created. However, they believe the Trump administration can reduce it significantly, as much as they possibly can. So I read into that. That's probably what the desire is. Whether they accomplish that or not, again, all of this is kind of conjecture. For funding, they spoke a lot about what they're researching. This its Pacific Research Institute is the person that hosted the webinar, or not the person, but the organization. For funding, they would completely change the funding model from the federal government. They would like to move as much of the funding to states in block grants. So, or if they can't move it in block grants because there's legal requirements or legal hurdles, their second option is to hire a consultant that would run competitive grant processes for the funding into individual school districts, not at the state level. So that sounds pretty scary for small school districts. I don't know how we would be able to manage something like that. She did say likely there's gonna be a hybrid of what they would have to put together. Some block grant passage of funding and some competitive grant funding. The other thing that they talked about are the different kinds of regulations that they're trying to reduce from the Department of Education. Various ones around special education. And the list was long. I don't remember the list off the top, nor would I like, I don't know them well enough to know them by memory. The other one specifically that they talked about quite a bit was trying to eliminate Title IX. And I know that, Title IX is impactful across a lot of things. So I called Mike right after, like, here's my notes, here's everything that I've heard. If there's something else that stands out that you can remember, since I can't find my notes right now, like before the meeting, feel free to add, but it just was tons of change that they were talking about. So a lot of concern if that's where they're moving, because I don't know how we would fare in any of that.
I don't, in my opinion, is that any of those and all of those will probably be in courts a long time before that change would happen. I mean, it will get challenged and appealed all the way through, because those are all federal programs. So every state will be able to contest any of those moves. And even believe Oregon will be right in there, the entire West Coast, so, and probably majority of the country. You're talking about federal dollars for Title IX. And any of those funding sources.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you for joining those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Much appreciated.
Mine's not as exciting. I've been putting up the football games and I haven't been home much, so. Soon.
Rich policy committee.
Oh, I went to policy committee and I'm here.
Well,
Yeah.
never,
Oh,
I heard that.
It's riveting. But I also managed my last board, I want to count that since I was not
You did.
physically here.
You did great.
I gave you thumbs up the whole time because I had no internet, but I just wanted to say, there was effort, that's what I'm doing.
You made it. I joined the leadership meeting this last week, policy committee. I never forget policy committee. I've gone to 2 volleyball games. Actually, made it to a girls soccer game. Sorry, Brady. Next time. I made it to a girls' middle school volleyball game, which was very entertaining to watch. And they're really pretty good. I was very impressed with how well they're playing. And then I've made it to 1 football game. I need a list of elementary school things. I don't know what to do or go to. Without
Saturday.
seeming, what? No. So, yeah, I would love to participate. I just don't know what to participate in. And that's it for me. So I think that puts us at the end. If there's any requests for future agenda items, please let us know. I'm sure next month will be how do we want to move forward with the superintendent search, and that'll be one.
You read my mind, that was my next.
I had a feeling it would be. That will be on our upcoming agenda so that we can start discussing how we're gonna do it. Okay, thank you all and have a good evening. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, please.
The Lady of the
Yeah, oh,
show. There's
you're
a
right,
bit of
sorry.
information that I got from the secretary out there that.
I apologize. So those of us who are gonna join the Lane ESD meeting, they have added a 5 PM training from OSBA if you wanna join. Let Marilyn know, because I think we probably have to tell them we're coming, and it's called Speech and Best Practice. In fairness, I will not be going, but if any of you are interested, if not, I think a handful of us are going to the actual legislative.
Yeah, you're all
right?
confirmed to go to dinner.
Next week, right?
Yeah,
Next Tuesday.
Yep.
dinner, guys. You're all confirmed for dinner
It's
and the
yeah.
meeting. So, but if something happens and you can't attend the dinner for some reason, don't feel bad because they expect that things happen.
Yes.
So, yeah. So anyway, you're
just
all.
let me know and I'll pick your dinner up. I'll help you out that way.
So kind. Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Lisa.